Today's presentation, we have Shaun Clark. I'm super excited to be on this call with him. Shaun Clark from GoHighLevel. And usually on this call, it's going to be something like more of interview style. But what I want to do with Shaun is have a conversation agency to the CEO of GoHighLevel from an agency owner perspective. And the reason why I want to do that is to support the agencies that we're going to be coaching in the future, in the near future, in our agency coaching program, where we're going to be supporting agency owners to grow and scale their SaaS plan and really take advantage of the SaaS mode. So to think of this more as like Shaun coaching me coaching Shaun, going back and forth dialogue, and you can be third party watching this conversation. I'm excited to have you here, Shaun.
Oh, hey, I'm excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
So Shaun, you know, I met you initially at TNC in San Diego. I saw an amazing presentation, and I was looking for a tool like this, and you had the solution. And how many users today? I mean, 15.
Well, let's see. It depends on how you count it. So it's about 27,000 agencies now, serving over 500,000 small businesses.
And when I met you, it was less than 10,000 at the time.
I'm sure. We've grown quite a bit recently.
So what do you think has been the contributing factor to the SaaS growth, to growing the software?
Oh, it's simple. It's our customers, right? So instead of us kind of showing up and just making tools and saying like, here you go and good luck to you, it's really a focus on helping people build a business, right? So it's, hey, we're here as a tool for sure, but we're also here to help you create a business model that we know is working, that we know is scalable, and it's not going to be our name out there. It's going to be your name, right? Because we're all white label. I think you put those sorts of pieces together and you create this just sort of amazing creativity in the world that, you know, you just couldn't imagine, just seeing all these great people going out and making businesses and making money.
For sure, man. So the journey that I went on was going from high ticket service-based agency work to really focusing on recurring subscription. Now you and I had an interesting experience where I had a client, he paid us 40 grand for like some big service that we did. And you were in the middle of you having a conversation with me of why a $297 customer is more valuable than a $40,000 client, which in my head at the time, I couldn't fathom, but it makes sense today because I have clients on our SaaS that I haven't talked to in months or even over a year, paying $297 every single month. And when we had that experience, I recognized that looking back, how valuable a $297 a month customer is compared to a $40,000 customer who takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus.
That's right. I think I remember you I having a conversation and you felt like, oh, sorry, I gotta go talk to this guy. He's beating my phone up, and if I don't talk to him right now, I'm going to lose all this money. Yeah, I remember that.
What do you find is common in the challenges, or like pretty much where that I'm at? What is the key differentiator between a successful SaaS company and going from agency to SaaS versus one that's not winning? What's common in between?
Yeah, so I mean, first it's that mindset shift, right, which you can really speak to, but it's the reality that there's this perceptional problem, right? You thought in that moment that's $40,000 because it just makes sense. Gosh, it's a lot of money. It must be worth a lot more. Whereas in reality, the $297 customer is worth radically more. And the big issue, right, is we think the $40,000 is worth more because it's a big money on the top, number on the top. But when we sort of really start to discount all of the costs that go with it, including our personal time, our inability to go on vacation, the fact that we can't go to family functions, all of a sudden the $40,000 isn't worth nearly as much as the $297, because the difference, right, is that, like you described, the $297 doesn't call you, it doesn't bug you all the time, isn't demanding your attention all the time. And why is that? It's not just the price point, it's also the solution. So I think the most important thing is that at $297, you create a price point everyone says yes to, and a solution that's incredibly scalable, versus when you look at the $40,000 customer, it's always custom, it's always bespoke, and now all of a sudden it's just maintenance mode forever. And the problem is they're going to say, well, I pay you 40 grand, so you better show up. And now you feel like, okay, I'm owned by this one customer. It's a terrible, terrible thing to have.
So take me through, like, with working with over 27,000, I mean, I see you in the Facebook group that you're communicating quite heavily with people who are either just starting out or maybe have 5,000 customers or users on their platform. Now, take me through that breaking point where someone is going to transition from agency mode, because that's we're going to start coaching agencies. Someone from an agency who's doing the 40,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 or the $3,000 a month, that transition to their operations. Let's get deep into the money and the operations. I think you have a tremendous amount of content on YouTube about the mindset, and that shift is great. But let's actually talk about the transition going from high ticket to 297 and onboarding. What should that look like when someone is saying, hey, I operate off of 50 grand a month, that's my operating expense. I got a bunch of customers paying me that 50 grand a month. How do I transition to 10 customers that need onboarding and support for 297? Now that's only 3 grand, and I still have the team. What does that look like?
Well, I think, I mean, it can be different for everybody. The nice thing, though, is you can walk before you run. It doesn't require you burn the ships. It doesn't require you destroy everything you've built. You can literally just start doing this from day one out of the gate. You can even do it with your existing clients as an add-on to get kind of like that feel for it. So you see how it works, and you can at least say, well, they're paying me 50 grand, so I can do the support. But I think what's important is that it's this idea that the next time you go out, you have this incredibly low ticket, like we all know this as marketers, right? Low ticket offers win the game, right? It's hard to get someone to pay you 10,000 or 50,000 or 40,000. Doesn't matter who you are, what your expertise is. It's just a lot of money versus saying, hey, it's only 297. That's a heck of a lot cheaper. It's an easy way to start. And then the most important thing there is it's incredibly standard. So it's that same box. You're fitting them into the box versus you trying to fit into their box, right? And it's saying, listen, this is like, you can start with the most minimal amount of features and create the most maximal amount of value. And honestly, it depends on who everybody's dealing with, right? But let's just say I'm dealing with local businesses. I can tell you right now that one feature, missed call text back, which is basically when I call into the business and they don't pick up the phone, it automatically texts me back. That one feature right there is easily worth 297 to 99% of local businesses nationwide right now. They don't have it. Easy to put in place. That's one feature. So that's not a lot of technical setup. It's not a lot of phone calls. It's literally a couple clicks. And after that, right there, you could build an entire business off of it. So that it doesn't have to be complex. And yeah, you can add the CRM and you can add two-way texting in, this and this and this and this and this as you go, but make sure you start simple. You feel good, you deliver value, you create ROI, and then you just kind of scale from there. And for me, if I was starting over with a different lead source, I just walk out my front door. Every local business in town needs these really simple things. Web chat widget on the website, GMB chat, missed call text back, right? Like these are the things that most of these businesses don't have. Very easy to deliver, very easy to create ROI. Because the way I think about it is, how many customers would I need to get this person to pay me $300 a month? And the answer for most businesses is one, right? And so, one plumbing customer easily going to be worth $300. So one feature, missed call text back, one customer a month, $300. And let's say it's 2, let's say it's 3, let's say it's 4. These guys are missing calls all the time. Do that one thing, and you've just built yourself the start of your SaaS business, and you can get as complex as you want from there.
Let's talk about the model then. Inside the community, there are people who are like working with coaches, people working with plumbers, working with lawyers. There are people who are building these robust snapshots that are, 6 pages long, right, and so forth. And then you got people who are like Rob Bailey, who's just like, here's these 2 workflows with 2 buttons, and we're making 400 grand a month. Take me through, like, throughout this 27,000, who are you seeing is not the name, but what model are they performing that is like the highly profitable or high recurring?
Yeah. So the simpler, the better. So I want to be careful here. So because everybody's on a different stage of the journey, right? So if this is like day one, I have no customers, I have nothing, I'm starting from scratch. It's literally walk out your front door and sell missed call text back and stop right there, because that's how you're going to get started. But if you play it out, so let's say you stay local, let's say, hey, okay, I walked out my front door, Shaun, I got 10 clients on missed call text back. I want to do more. What's next? Well, that's your plan A. You're going to have a plan B and a plan C. And what I mean by that is you're going to have the 297, the 497, and the 697, and you're going to add a couple more features as you go. And the long-term goal here is really simple. You're going to become sort of the end-to-end, the front. You're going to start with the front door, and you're going to walk to the back door, and you're going to own that business end-to-end on the platform. So they're going to be able to run their whole business on it. But by the time they get to that level of feature set, you're getting $697 a month, or you're getting some amount that you feel really good about, where you're able to pay for that support. But even within the construct of your local area, you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses that you can sell to. And so right there, I can show a single owner operator how they can literally get to, hundreds of thousands of dollars in income every year. And the great thing about the 297 versus back to that 40,000, the profit margin on that 297 is 95% profit margin. So as a result, you're keeping the vast majority of the revenue there versus spending it in time, energy, graphic designers, etc., burning up a lot of that revenue in creating things and spending money on things. So you're talking about a very scalable business, and it's incredibly durable, right? Because if you lose one customer, your whole life didn't just evaporate in front of you. Now you got a ton more customers still left. And honestly, how do you keep it going? You just keep going to the BNI meetings. You keep going to you call the Chamber of Commerce right now. I had a guy tell you, I literally did this in social media world. I had a guy who came up to me, super nice, high-level customer, but he kind of like one of those guys who's, he's not a sales dude. He's very into systems. And he came up to me, he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I want to get into SaaS. What do I do? I said, listen, call your Chamber of Commerce right now. Tell me you'll do a free marketing class, how to market your business online. He's like, oh, I don't know. I think I have bad cell reception in here. And I'm like, come on, shut up. This is San Diego, California. You're such a liar. And I said, go sit at that table right now and call your local chamber. He called them. And you know what they said? They said, how's your July looking? We'd love to have you in. And it's super simple. You show up, you give a class, you don't make a pitch, and you show people how you can do things simply like missed call text back or web chat widgets and all this stuff. And right at the end, they come running up and they say, wait, hold on, I want to sign up. So really simple tactics that you think, gosh, I don't get it. There's no fancy online coach pitching this stuff. And the reason why is it's not sexy. It doesn't get you to click, but it actually makes sales, builds businesses, and makes money. That's all it does.
So, I mean, let's talk to the person, Shaun, who is probably going to be listening to this, that are very much similar to me. That's why they attracted to me in the first place. That they already have an agency, they have a team, it's operational.
Yeah.
And they're leaving, they're realizing that the agency world is not for them. They want recurring, they're tired of the hustle, they want to transition. What does the actual, I know there's 101 different variables, but in the ideal world, in Shaun's mind, what would the infrastructure look like for their SaaS? Would they need onboarding specialists? Would they need some type of developer? Would they?
I mean, they have a team, right? So the biggest thing to focus on is onboarding first and foremost, right? So if you have a team, great, grab one of those people and put them on onboarding. That's where I would focus. But I mean, personally, for me, like it's one of those things where if you scope down your offering to 5 features, let's say. Right? It's not hard to have 5 help docs on 5 features. It's not hard to onboard someone into those 5 features. And it's not hard to support people in those 5 features. And that's the whole point, right? They don't get to go outside those 5 features. Those are the 5 features we're going to give them. Those are 5 features that are going to deliver at way more value. We're talking 10x, 100x value every month for your 297. So that's not like it's a great deal for this business, but it limits the scope of what you have to do. And in fact, I experience this on a daily basis. People reach out to me, hey, how do I do this? I go to the help docs, I grab the help article, I paste it in and I say, hey, did you read this? And they're like, oh, shoot, I didn't. Thanks. Oh, there's the answer. Moving on. Because these are very boxed out answers. And this is what really makes this model brilliant is unlike your agency models that you're running now, as a client, I just call you and I say, hey, I want this. And no matter what I say, you can't say no, right? Because I'm paying you the big bucks. This is all custom for me anyways. You're supposed to know it all. Go make it happen. Versus now we're changing the game. We're saying, listen, we know how to get you value. It's these 5 features. There's the 5 help docs for it. It's all run by software. Sure, I'm going to help you set it up. I'm going to help you get to value. I'm going to onboard you. But then at that point, it's really pretty much on, autopilot. And now this money's just kind of coming in. And so is the value. So value's coming in automatically. Money's coming in automatically. It just works that simply.
What did you do different between GoHighLevel HighLevel versus Invoice Sherpa that took HighLevel to the level that it is today?
Super simple. I didn't know this, so I really want to be like I learned this by working actually with an agency. So I started HighLevel the same way I did Invoice Sherpa. I was like, I'm going to go help the small business owner because I talked to them. I knew them. I knew thousands of small business owners, and I knew they wanted more customers. I knew they wanted, more success in their businesses. And I was like, all right, I want to help you guys. I'm hell-bent to do this. But then what I ran into was they were struggling to figure out how to do the software. And in that moment, I got a call from an agent.
Is that what
you're talking? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. So because the problem is and it was super simple back then. It was like 2-way text messaging and reputation management, right? But at some point, like the plumber is sitting there, like starting to get it. And then a call comes in, it's like, hey, there's a toilet leaking. can you come fix it? And that call wins, right? So we would have people say like, oh, I don't have time to implement it. And I would be like, I don't get it. Do you not understand that this is going to make or break your business in the future? And they would say, yes, we understand, but we just don't have time. I'd hear that all over. And so an agency came in and we had a co-customer in common. And what ended up happening is they really opened my eyes to this idea that, that's the case. It's not that the plumber doesn't have a PhD from MIT, because I bet you there's a couple plumbers out there that do. It's just a time issue. It's the fact that if you're a plumber, lawyer, doctor, dentist, you're not getting paid unless you're out in the field doing your thing. So this is where agencies are like this unsung hero of small business success. But their current model today is all about service, which makes them expensive. It makes their solutions custom. And by definition, it makes them radically unscalable. So if we take the software concept, we match it with the creativity of the agency and the knowledge of the agency, it creates this power pack combo that just wins every time, because they know enough to actually create the solution the business needs, but they're using something to create that solution that's incredibly scalable, right? And so on both ends, they win. So if they're facing off against another agency, they're less expensive to get to ROI for that business, so they wipe out the other agency. If they come up against a software company, the software company just sells software. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to strategically put it in place for that customer. So they win against the software company. They create this beautiful middle ground where they beat out both ends of the competition spectrum, and they create a beautiful scaling recurring revenue business.
So I'm assuming that there's some type of equity split between you and Robin and all the other people involved.
Yes, there is.
Would that have been, if the other team members, if they weren't part of it, do you believe that GoHighLevel would still be where it is today?
Absolutely not. And in fact, we kind of do this with our customers, right? So, HighLevel's pricing model is flat. So it's 97, 297, 497, and that's it. No per customer, no per user, no per contact. We don't mess around with our pricing like that, because what we really care about is kind of doing the same thing for our customers, right? I always say, I want to be a $10 billion business. I want to have 9 billion coming into my customers and 1 billion coming into us. And we actually think about it that way. We measure it that way. We know if there's not revenue coming into our customer's pocket, we're not doing our job. And that's exactly how we built this entire business.
Would you, because I've seen that multiple times with different SaaS companies where they're like, hey, I'm splitting equity. I just had a buddy of mine, his software company, he told me yesterday, is valued at $140 million. It's a LinkedIn software. And when I see that, and I said, well, talk to me about equity. He's like, I don't own 100% of it. I have different partners and so on and so forth. And my question is, at the white label level, would that be valuable if you bring in some type of joint venture partners as well?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, we've seen this happen. You can start your white label, you can raise venture capital, you can sell, and when you raise and when you sell, you will get software margins. So you will literally get valued as a software company. And the reason why this is totally possible is because it actually makes sense at the end of the day. A lot of people think, oh, well, it's just a white label, so it doesn't matter. That's not how this works. So for those of you who have been through financing, what you know is that people in the financing world, they care about things like revenue streams and recurring revenue and scalability and growth rates and churn rates. These are the ways they value businesses. They see them as think about it as like a cash flow. If you've ever seen a bond, it's like bonds. It's essentially just a cash flow into perpetuity, and they want to see it growing. And that's really what they care about. And from there, if they were to buy the business or invest in the business, they just want to know that the way in which the business operates today, however that may be, is ultimately going to continue on into the future after they invest in it. And we have a very similar concept here. We depend on Stripe, we depend on Google, we depend on Amazon, we depend on all kinds of vendors that people have never heard of. And anybody who invests in us looks the same way. They just want to know, can you keep, if I buy 20% of your company, does Stripe continue to service us so that way we can continue to operate the way we have been and grow? And so long as that's yes, well then game on. And that's exactly what happens with us. So your white label becomes a software company. And if you get a venture capital partner, you get a private equity partner, you will absolutely get the same type of margin as a software company.
I can only imagine that someone who is agency level, operating at this level in revenue, doing a lot of services, transitioning to software, utilizing HighLevel, getting to a place in revenue because they're great at sales, getting a place to a higher level of annual recurring revenue because they're great at sales and acquisition. that they get to a point where they bring in some private equity firm or some joint venture partner to give them some money. Now, what would be the value proposition for the buyer if it's not the technology?
Well, because all of a sudden they just picked up a really great cash flow business, right? I mean, this is how these things work. So software in general, so if you just sort of take a step back and ask yourself, well, why don't agencies get venture capital? So their models are terrible. They're service-based, they're expensive, they're labor-heavy. They're just not a great business to own if you're an investor, because investors don't want to buy a job. They want to buy a business. And to them, a business is someplace they never show up at. They don't even have to be there. They don't have to talk to them, but money just keeps flowing, right? That's an investment. And so ultimately, when you look at software companies, that's why software companies do so well, because they have this beautiful scale, this beautiful recurring model, and there's not a lot of labor there. It's very labor light. And so as a result, if you're what they're buying into is exactly what you described, you've gone out and sold 1,000 small businesses or 1,000 customers on SaaS. That's real revenue, and it's durable, and it doesn't go anywhere, and it's recurring. Why would you not want to be an investor in that? And all investors are really doing is essentially trading a 10, let's call it, let's say it's a 10x valuation. They're just giving you 10 times revenue in advance so that they can sit there and get 50 times revenue later on, because they're going to sit on that investment for longer. And of course, they're going to look at your growth rate. So they're also saying, well, not only if I sit still, on the 11th year, I'll make more than I paid, but also they're going to look at that growth rate. They're going to say, wow, this is awesome. I can, not only will I get the 11th year I'll pay off, I'll get probably this back in 5 years, because look at this growth rate. This thing has grown like a rocket ship and has high profit margins. Wow, this is a great investment for me.
I'm going to ask you the question, like, I'm thinking of myself when I was at TNC, like before I understood about SaaS mode and really honing in on it. Like I'm honing in on it 100%. And I'm thinking about some of the questions that I had back then that would allow to create conviction. So that way, the person who goes through our coaching program, who listens to this podcast in the future, that they have concept as well. They're a business owner. They're not someone who's starting, right? So they're going to say to themselves, how in the world, if I pay a flat fee and I can scale, there's a cost, there's additional costs when we scale. How is GoHighLevel going to be able to, how can I secure my business in GoHighLevel if I have 1,000 sub accounts and I'm not being charged for all those sub accounts when your competitors are charging per user or per sub account and so on and so forth?
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, it just comes down to difference in model, right? So the reality is that you're out doing all the sales and marketing work that we would otherwise have to do as a business. And that sales and marketing work costs those other companies truckloads of money. So much, in fact, that they lose money. And it's funny because people will often do this comparison like, well, how does it compare to XYZ other company who is in the software business? If you go actually look at those people, they don't actually make money. They're unprofitable. So it's funny to think that people would say, well, why would I trust you when I could build my business on this unprofitable software company? And it's like, that's so hilarious, but I get it. Big brand names tend to attract a lot of attention. But the reality is that because we don't have all those massive overhead costs, we're able to run a much leaner model than all those other businesses. And just think about it. What does a contact in a database cost, a user cost, any of that stuff cost? It costs nothing, actually. It's thin air. It's less than pennies. And the reason why other companies charge the way they do is because they have to, in order to try to suck as much money out of the bigger customers that they have, in order to pay for these massive sales teams, marketing efforts, and everything else, because they're going out spending money on Google ads and trade shows and who the heck knows what's, to try to bring in as many customers as they can. It's a very inefficient model. And I'll tell you why. It's because they don't have amazing people like you who are actually out doing two things, not only having a tool, but having expertise. And this is why we do what we do the way we do it. And this is really important. As an agency, you have this expertise about how the real world works when it comes to serving your customer. Software companies don't know anything about all that stuff. They're just out saying, no, I want to sell you a screwdriver and a hammer and a saw, and I hope you figure out how to build a house. Have a nice day. That's their pitch. Versus agencies, they don't talk, if they're a really good agency, they don't talk about the hammer, the saw, or the hammer. They just say, listen, I know how to build a great house. Would you like a great house built? And people say, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. And sure, you use the hammer and the saw to do that, but that's not what you're going to tell them about. You're going to help them get that end result. And that's where agencies are so much better on the sales side.
So what I've gathered so far, Shaun, really, when someone comes in and they're going from agency to transitioning into SaaS, is start off slow. Start off slow by introducing the product. One of the things that we did is I have my marketing agency, that still perform services. But in the past, we used to say, well, you need, Kajabi for this, you need Shopify for this.
Yeah.
Instead, what we did is we said, we don't do anything outside of our own, outside of this platform. So you're going to have to migrate you. So we'll do a migration setup for you and so on and so forth. We don't do Shopify. We don't do Kajabi or whatever, the funnels company and so forth. You're 100% here. So we still operate. And you know where I thought about this, Shaun, by the way? This was an exercise that we did at the round tables in,
oh, that's cool.
At the mastermind. It was in that moment where I was like, yeah, we would separate them, but treat them as two separate entities. So that's how we set it up.
Yep, that's smart.
So, number one is start slow, and then start with 5 features or less. That's what I took from you. Start with 5 features or less. That is simple to create. Although the platform has a tremendous amount of features, you can start with 5 features so that way it's easy. Missed call text backs was number 1. Google My Business Chat, and then the reviews. What would be the other 2 features? Two-way text message wasn't one that
the web chat widget is killer too. So if we really think about, so if you take a step back, the theme of all this, right, is if you go to a small business owner and you say, hey, do you need more leads? We all know what they're going to say. They're going to be like, oh yeah, I need more leads. But the reality is they have a truckload of leads coming in every single day that they miss. And this is what's magical about it, right? And what are those leads? That's like free money that's coming in that they're missing. And then where do they come, right? So you go today, you put up a Google My Business page, and you've been around for 5 minutes, you're getting phone calls, you're getting visitors to your website, and what's happening is you're just not capitalizing on them. So I don't care. In fact, we had this great experience ourselves. I once had a multi-page, beautiful website, paid a lot of money for it, and I got exactly 0 sales off that website all time. It's because people come, they look, they read, and they're confused as all heck, and they don't know what to do. Every small business, same situation. So you put this little web chat widget in the bottom right-hand corner that says, hey, got questions, need something, click me. And people click, right? And what do? We turn those into SMS conversations because we know those business owners are not going to be right there, Johnny, on the spot, 10 seconds or less, right? And as a result, what we've done is we've basically created a beautiful lead capture mechanism that sucks up existing leads already coming to the website. And now as the agency running the SaaS, you get to take credit for that because that person otherwise would come in, then confused as all heck and bounce. And now you've captured them and now you can deliver them and say, oh, that was me. And again, back to needing one of those people, just one of those people to hit your $297 a month bill. That's all you need. It's a very low bar. This is how you win.
And if you're an agency that you are setting up their high-level account, what I found, just to add on to that, those simple features, missed call text back, Google My Business, because if you're anything like me, you're skeptical at this point. You listened so far and you're skeptical. And I'm here to share with you what Shaun is saying. Not only is it because he had experience, but it's 100% right. Like I've experienced that. And to add on to what Shaun is saying, towards the end of that setup, we have the internal user notification that every time a lead comes in from a chat widget, we put in our name. So our white label name is Progretta. We say, you have a new lead in Progretta. Here's the name of the contact detail. So every time they get that notification, it's kind of like an Instagram. Yeah. It feels so good.
Man. Oh, it does. Super smart, man. That's huge. Just continually reminding people like, nope, that was me. Nope, that's me, right? And then here's the beautiful thing. This is how this works with every agency. This is where, and I've talked to 1,000 of them, they just don't get it because it's a mental thing. And I think people have a hard time when psychology, like perception versus reality, right? We've all experienced in life where the reality is way different than the perception, but the agencies get fired off perception every single day. It's super simple. I sit down a small business owner with my bookkeeper every month and I say, listen, show me all my expenses, most expensive to least expensive. Let's see what we can cut because that's how small business owners think. And if, as an agency, when you're doing 10,000, 3,000, 1,000, I don't care, you're way up there, man. I mean, and so like, wait, what are we getting here? And you know, as the agency, oh, I'm killing myself and I'm doing all this work and yada, yada, but your customer doesn't see all that. They just see the big fat bill at the top and they think, oh God, maybe we could pause that or cut it for a couple months or this or that, right? You put a big target on your back being at the top. But then as they go all the way down, first of all, even if they make it to the $300, now you're down at the phone bill level. And all they got to say is like, well, what the heck are we getting out of this? And you're like, oh, you know what? I think we got the Smith job this month off that. And that's it. We're done here. Moving on. That's so easy to not get killed versus when you're way up at the top of the expense line, man, I can't wait to get rid of you. You just look like terrible. I don't even care what you do. I want you gone. And that's how agencies get fired every single day of the week.
Yes. I was just consulting with an agency owner who uses GoHighLevel. And one of the things that he shared with me is that he charges his SaaS mode plan essentially is like $3,000, and it includes all of these services. And what I told him was he had to separate the cost. And where the software is one fee and the service is one fee, because when they cut up the service, they're still your customer on the software paying a couple $100 bucks.
Yes. That's smart. And you know what? I'll tell you another trick I learned. So what you do is, so agencies normally attack with the service. Let's say you're like an ads agency. They attack with ads like they go on forever. And that's the problem, right? So the agency thinks, well, you know, I'm going to have this, in order for me to eat, I need these ads to run all the time. But the business owner's like, after 3 months is like, God, this is killing me. I want to cut this. So what you do is when you separate the two, you go in and you say, listen, we're going to run ads. You've got the software that's done. And if you want to add ads, you say, listen, we'll add ads, but I'm telling you, we will not run ads for more than 3 months. Where it's a 3-month deal and we automatically turn them off because we want to give them a rest or make up some nonsense. I don't care. But here's what's brilliant. You pick up the ads and in that 3 months, you're killing it. And at that point, you're resting them and you're saying, listen, we're going to go on for 3, off for 3, on for 3, off for 3. And then the business is like, okay. Because when they see those ads cost on month 2, they're like, okay, you know what? It's fine because we've only got 1 more month of this, right? And so you can retain some of these services and still have the software and not get killed on the service because it feels like this thing that never ends, that's super expensive and super painful. But as the agency, you can still pick up half the year on ads and get some revenue from that.
Yes, you're on it, man. You're on it. And when I get agencies to at least experience what I've experienced, man, the fact that I'm with my wife in California I live in Las Vegas. I'm with my wife and I'm like, oh, all these SaaS people just paid. Okay, cool. Oh, all these rebilling just came in. And I'm like, babe, remember 3 years ago, like we couldn't even do this? And it's like, yeah, because we have SaaS mode turned on. Super game changer. What's the future of GoHighLevel look like for us?
It's really just about continuing to create that expansion of the product. So a big thing you'll hear about on Level Update is you'll hear about our launch of e-commerce. So that way we can actually go in and help add yet another way for you guys to attack different types of businesses. Ultimately, they'll have a ton of cool stuff coming out this quarter. Inbound calling in the browser, tap to pay on mobile, estimates and proposals are going to be huge. QuickBooks Online integration all this quarter. We'll also have and then we also have some cool trick marketing things like communities are coming out this quarter. And then we also have, it was right there on the tip of my tongue. We'll have like custom fields and opportunities. But again, all of this is about thematically driving either your ability as a marketing agency to really just attack your clients with more features. But again, not hey, eating the whale, like take it all. It's figuring out how to create those plans, creating that lock-in, so that way you just never lose people, right? And you're never in a situation where you have to say no to a client because you can't help them. Fundamentally, it's just about allowing you at any point just to walk in the door and feel confident. Like, yeah, I can start you off here, but I can also end you off way up here because I'm providing you those more features because you're more experienced now, but I can charge a lot more for it. But again, it's always software-based. It's always compartmentalized. It's always scalable. It's always recurring revenue.
Last question, Shaun, and this one is going to be kind of thought-provoking, and maybe a portion of what you already shared is going to be repeated here. But the concern that I would have if I was an agency owner is I don't think Andy and Shaun understands that I'm making $1 million in top-line revenue right now doing services. I got a big team and big operations, and you're over here these two software guys are talking about transitioning into software only or software majority. It's hard to really think about that. What would be Shaun's play that within a 12-month time frame to build $1 million SaaS business? Because you've already done it. What would be Shaun's play with GoHighLevel?
Yeah, so I mean, again, if you already have a team and you know what you're doing, you should be able to move a little quicker. So let's just assume for a second, you kind of get the idea of like, okay, I know what I'm selling. I can make one sale. I've got one customer. I've got 297. That I could do. Now, how do I scale that up? It's really simple. Then you got to look for those multiplier strategies. So, hey, I know, let's go find a Facebook group right now with 1,000 people in it that are killer for my software, killer for my niche. I'm going to use the affiliate management software, which by the way is built into GoHighLevel. And I'm going to go to the group owner and say, hey, listen, I want you to look at this software. It's amazing. And once you know that it's amazing, I want to do a webinar in here. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a 40% recurring commission for every month for every person that we sell. And all you have to do to get that is let me in your group. You've already seen the software, you know it's killer. And boom, you just took 1,000 people, you just put them on your SaaS and you're paying 40%. You're like, oh man, that's a lot of money. But I just told you it's a 95% profit margin product. So 95 minus 40 for access to 1,000 free customers. That's a heck of a nice deal. And by the way, now you own that group owner. They're never going to pitch any other product. They're always going to pitch your product. And as their group goes forward, they're going to continue to bring in more customers from you, and they're going to love you because you're a great revenue source. And now you've just easily built $1 million business. But don't worry, because there's a heck of a lot more Facebook groups, YouTube channels, Instagram feeds, TikTok groups, whatever, TikTok channels, people that you can do the same trick to over and over and over and over and over again, and very quickly get to way north of $1 million.
That is amazing, man. One of the things that you brought up in there that I think is a concern for many agencies owners, what you just said, is niche. You said, because you said my niche, that's assuming that we have one. Is it?
Oh, I hate niches, by the way, but just for the record. So if anybody wants to know, I think niches are a waste of time. I think they sound sexy. I think they sound exciting, but I think at the end of the day, it's ultimately about, first of all, if you're just starting, please stay local. That is, if you can, the home court advantage is so huge. People just do not understand. Being able to say like, hold on, man, you're having a problem. I'm jumping in my car. I'll be there in 5 minutes. That is worth just so much gold. It's not even funny. And just being able to say, wow, it's sure been, we've had some crazy hot weather this week. I'm just telling you, that rocks over anything else, because every other business that if you're pitching a local, think about it. They operate local, they serve local, they live local, they want to buy local. In fact, they already buy local in many other instances. So trust me, when it comes to buying software, they cannot wait to buy local. They hate having to call the 1-800 number, sit on hold and get on the webinars and hate all that stuff. So yes, I hate niches. I don't get it. I know why. It's because it sounds cool when you're telling it as a coach, like, oh, you can get really good at dentistry and then you'll own the dental market and all that. But that's just not how humans operate. We are really about who do we like, know, and trust. And I got to tell you, building trust face to face and in a local market, way easier than trying to do it nationally, trying to do it at a conference, that kind of thing. So for me, I'm not a big niche guy.
What would be the multiplier then? So if someone has $1 million business and they want to exit the business, what would be the multiplier, since we can essentially be technically a SaaS, potentially?
I mean, if you have $1 million business, you're going to get a 10x valuation right now on that business. So congratulations, you have a $10 million valuation. That's what you're going to get paid out on exit. But if you want to multiply and you don't want to do niches, that's okay. Do the ground game, right? Figure out, all right, how am I going to run? How am I going to go run Chamber of Commerce in city A, city B, city D? And you know what's funny? There is a fantastic video. A woman named Gail Goodman, she used to be the CEO of Constant Contact. She has this fantastic video called The Long, Slow SaaS Ramp of Death. It's a crazy cool title. She goes through and catalogs all these amazing things that you think would have really made Constant Contact like big time. And they all were just big failures, like on the homepage of Yahoo when Yahoo was the thing, and like got this and that. But their biggest sales thing that worked for them forever was going to the local Chamber of Commerce and pulling that trick. Just saying, hey, we're going to do a free seminar on how to market your business online. Huge crowd attendance. Chambers of Commerce loved it, by the way, because why do you join the chamber? You don't join it for the insurance guy to pitch you the 7th time. You do it because they need to have good content. So they need people like you to come in and do these things. So you can run the ground game. And by the way, there's also, if you just say like, I hate in person, I want to be online, fine. There's tons of groups online that are just general business groups, general marketing, how to market your business groups. There's lots of opportunity there, regardless of how you go. And the thing I like about not being a niche is this system is not niche specific. It doesn't have to be. You can create business value for everybody. So why do that to yourself? I only mention the niche thing because it's like popular, and I might be speaking to somebody who's like, no, I've spent 10 years in plumbing and I don't want to get out of it. Fine. It works either way. Does not matter. But if I was starting over, I would not go niche.
Let's say an agency came and watched this conversation that we're having here. Listen, they literally did everything that you did and put it into play. They're at the stage where they're presenting the product now, and that person says, isn't this GoHighLevel?
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So first of all, it's not going to happen. So that's a common myth. Like it's as though anybody even knows who we are. So, and second, it's never GoHighLevel, right? Because GoHighLevel is just a software company with a bunch of tools. GoHighLevel is not you. In fact, I always tell this to people all the time. Look, if I thought for one hot minute that I could go out and sell this to small businesses my darn self, I would. Why do the work? The reason why we do the work is simple, because tools are just tools. Hammers are hammers, saws are saws. Think about it. Could you go to Home Depot right now? Can you buy all those tools and go remodel a house? I mean, a couple of you probably can because you probably have the training. But for those of us who have never done it before, I'm telling you, we're going to hit our thumb with the hammer and that's it. We're done here. you have all this strategy and all this experience on how to take these tools and turn them into outcomes. And that's the most important part of this conversation. Sell the whole, not the drill. The customer wants the outcome. This is what makes you different. This is what makes you special. This is what makes you successful. It's not selling tools, it's selling outcomes. So don't ever forget that. Got it. So this whole thing is a masterclass at this point. So number one, choose 5 features. If you're starting off, use missed call text back, Google My Business chat, do the reviews, and then also the chat widget and two-way text message. The future of high level is fun, and it's constantly changing. They're constantly upgrading the tool, and there's like an Easter egg hunt that's taking place inside the platform, inside the Facebook community. Also, you can build $1 million business going 100% SaaS. The way Shaun would do that is start off with Facebook groups, turn those individuals into affiliates, go into other Facebook groups, and keep running that play with working with affiliates directly. And if you already have a team, the first position to get started with is onboarding, where you're onboarding your customers, and then sell the result, not the features. Shaun, thank you so much for being on this show with us. And man, thank you so much for creating high level and helping us all get to a high level. Thanks, man. It was great to be here. Thank you, Shaun.